Most people will never experience real power. Yeah, yeah. Most people, yeah. Most people will never experience real power. You know why? Because they don't even know what it looks like. Because they are asleep when it is being built. But even worse, most people stop as system operator. They execute, but they never create. They refine blueprints, but never lay the foundation. They master the system, but never own it. And if you never move beyond operator, you will never escape the system that owns you. You want to know what the real problem is? Most people believe that if they reach the top of their industry, their field, their environment, that they've won. Most people think power is something they earn instead of something they take. Most people. They think because they are high performers that they are free. But here's the raw, uncooked, and really real. If you are still playing inside of a system you didn't design, you're not the architect. You're just a glorified pawn. If you are refining something that isn't yours, you are not the master. You are the machine. If your success disappears the moment you step away, you never owned it. You were just leasing influence. If you don't transfer power, you don't actually have any. Welcome to Raw 4, Epoch 1, Day 78. The transfer of power from operator to architect. We're going to begin as we do every day with our concept overview. Operator versus architect. Operators run systems. Architects build them. Operators execute, they refine, optimize, and maximize efficiency. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Architects create. They design the frameworks that operators execute within. In that way, operators think inside of frameworks. Architects invent frameworks. Operators find solutions. They work within the given constraints. Architects eliminate constraints. They rewrite what is possible from the ground up. Operators optimize the game. Architects change the game. Operators study the blueprint. They become the best at running the system. Architects ask, why does this system exist? And can I make a better one? This is the difference between power and true ownership. Do you run the system, or does the system run you? Let's get into a visual metaphor. We call this the chessboard versus the chess maker. Yeah. Imagine this. You are sitting at a chessboard. You have mastered the rules. You know every move, every counter, every strategy. You are an elite player, undeniable in execution. You are a beast, a stud. You look really good doing it. But then you look up and you realize the board itself was created by someone else. Someone else decided how many pieces there are. Someone else decided how those pieces move. Someone else structured the win conditions before you ever even sat down. You might be a master, but you are still playing inside someone else's design. Operators perfect their position on the board. Architects build the board itself. If you don't become the chess maker, you're still a piece in the game. Here's my personal perspective. The transfer of power. At 43 now, I've gained some wisdom. I've essentially been in every environment. On the block, in corporate, in rooms where power is manufactured, and in spaces where it is assumed. And the one thing I've seen everywhere, most people are fighting for control inside of a system they don't own. They believe they're building power. They believe they're creating separation. They believe they're designing success, but in reality, they are just operators inside a world someone else built. Let's talk about the block because I saw it on the block. People establishing dominance inside the walls of their environment. It happens in corporate. I saw it in corporate. People holding on to their title, their badge, their position as if it is their identity. But then you catch them on the block. It's a different story. I saw it in business. People convincing themselves they were creating wealth when all they were doing was following a system they never designed. And the truth hit me. If your success is dependent on the rules of a system you didn't create, then your power is borrowed, not built. And when your power is borrowed, it doesn't transfer. Hear this. Understand this. The moment you leave the block, you cool on the block, you run the block. The moment you leave, the game resets. The moment you lose the job, the title disappears. The moment you step outside the framework, your authority is gone. That is not ownership. That is not ownership. That is participation. The moment I saw the difference between operator and architect, for years, I thought mastering the system meant I was in control. For years, I executed at the highest level. I optimized every move. I built influence, built results. I built mastery. I was always a stud. I always was the subject matter expert. But then I asked the question, whose system am I mastering? And I realized, while it was a lot of fun, I was playing inside a game I didn't build. I was executing flawlessly, but under rules I never wrote. I had power, but only within a world that would function the same without me. That's when I understood the transfer of power. If I really wanted to own the system, I couldn't just run the game. I had to build the board. The operator perfects the system. The architect replaces it. Here's the breakthrough. I had to understand to stop holding on to power that isn't mine. So stop holding on to power that isn't yours. The biggest mistake most people make. They justify playing by rules they don't believe in. Oof. Are you playing your life by rules you don't believe in? And you do this why? Because that's how the system works. They fight to win inside a structure they would destroy if given a chance to rebuild it. They argue against the rules, yet enforce them on themselves every day. They know the game is broken, but refuse to leave it. But here's the truth. If you were given full control to rebuild the system from the ground up, would you keep playing by these same rules? If the answer is no, then why are you so hell-bent on winning under someone else's conditions? If the answer is no, then why are you spending your life trying to succeed inside a structure you wouldn't even create? If the answer is no, then why haven't you started building yet? Because the real separation happens when you stop chasing position and start creating the framework. We're going to get into faith, but we're going to check the chat first. As I was thinking about this message today and this possibility, I thought back into a time when I worked at a retail store. I might have said this before, but there was a gentleman who worked there. It was retail. It was stocking clothes, folding clothes, selling clothes. It was $14, $15 an hour. But there was one dude there, wasn't from America, foreign, relevant in this way. He worked the same job, doing the same thing in the same place for decades. He came in at the same time, left at the same time, took vacation at the same time. During tennis season to go see the U.S. Open, and during the holidays when his family would come over. Lived in a rent-controlled apartment in the city. Had a smile on his face every day. The store couldn't function without him. He was so vital to the system. The system would crack. All he did was fold jeans. That's how you saw it. He just folds jeans. He just makes $14 an hour. He rides his bike to work. Was irreplaceable in that system. And so in that way, got everything he wanted. Took the same vacation every year at the same time. If you don't know the retail space and how these types of jobs work, that is foreign. You don't do that. It seems so minuscule. It's just a retail job folding jeans. He was owning the system. He made it work exactly how he wanted to have it work. No friction, no complaints, no misguidedness. He knew what it was. You don't have to be the CEO of the universe to own the system, to architect your own system. Hear what I'm saying? Let's talk about the faith and how it applies. Faith principle. Monitor just went out. That was a glitch. We killing it that the world's trying to glitch us at 4:15 a.m. You were not born to follow. There's a great line in Romans 12:2. This is why the book is so dope. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The renewing of your mind. Let it transform you. If you live inside a pre-designed system, then your power is an illusion. If your success only exists with man-made frameworks, then you are still a player, not a creator. If you perfect the system instead of rewriting it, then you are building a throne inside a prison. God didn't create you to execute someone else's world. He created you to build. The difference between an operator and an architect is the same difference between a servant and a son. A servant follows orders. A son builds in his father's image. A servant upholds the structure. A son expands the kingdom. A servant executes what exists. A son creates what does not yet exist. Are you a ruler inside a borrowed kingdom? Or are you an architect of your own? If you have to maintain your success, you don't own it. If you have to fight to keep your influence, it was never yours. If your power disappears when the system shifts, you were never an architect. You were an operator playing inside another man's empire. Faith is not following the system. Faith is stepping outside of it. Knowing you were designed to build a new one. This is your life, everyday life. Are you running the system, or is the system running you? There are 3 stages of power transfer, from operator to architect. We should have established this by now. Most people believe they are building power, when in reality, they are just perfecting execution inside someone else's framework. And look, if that's what you want to do, if you do it consciously, in that way, you can also be an architect. But let's talk about this. Power does not transfer automatically. Power must be taken through awareness, separation, and design. If you don't move behind operator status, you will always be a piece in the game, not the one shaping it. So here is where the separation occurs. Stage 1, execution power, operator mode, running the system. Here's a question. Think about your life. Do you refine processes, or do you design them? Including how you get up every day, huh? Do you focus on getting better inside the system, or do you challenge why the system exists? Are you rewarded for mastery, or are you irreplaceable because you created something no one else can? Is a reality. Most people stop here. They perfect the game instead of questioning the board. That's how you wind up in the life that seems redundant and monotonous and unaware. You perfect the game instead of questioning the board. Here's stage 2. Strategic power, architect mode, designing the system. Question. Do you decide how the structure functions, or do you just operate efficiently within it? Do you follow best practices or do you establish new principles? Do you adapt to the system's needs or does the system revolve around what you built? An operator optimizes, an architect constructs. Here's stage 3. Sovereign power, God mode, owning the system. If you disappeared today, would the system still function or would it collapse without you? Is your influence tied to an organization, a role, a title? Or is it tied to the fact that you've built something unshakable? Do you have to maintain your position or is your name embedded into the foundation of what exists? The final transfer of power happens when you dictate the framework, not just refine the process. This is where true separation happens. Operators look for opportunities. Architects create them. Operators move within boundaries. Architects expand them. Operators climb ranks. Architects own the structure. Most people will never make it past stage 1. We separate right now. Otherwise, there are consequences. We need to check the chat. 4:22 a.m. on a Wednesday, I believe. Are you understanding the difference between just being an operator and an architect? Are you architecting your life? How you feel about your life? How you move with your life? We can build inside the frameworks of what's already been built. The reality is we don't have to, however, be restricted and limited to the walls the system create for us. We are bigger than the system because we are the system, because God is source, God is all. The system has to be held up. It's held up by the infinite. You can create for yourself. You can create for yourself. It doesn't have to be dictated by the rules of a game you never even subscribed to begin with. And back to what got us to this juncture where we're going to get into some consequences. If you really find yourself conflicted with where you are in your life and the system that surrounds you, and you know you wouldn't want to be here if left to script out a new prescription for your life, then why are you staying there? These last 72 hours of data and input and information has been all around the transfer of power, becoming an architect. You dictate your success to self, to your will and your spirit, and to your network, your internal network, your external network. There are relationships you could be missing out on because you're pursuing status in a system that you don't even really want status from. Otherwise, what is there to complain about? Should be nothing. There are consequences. These are the consequences of never moving past operator status. If you never move beyond operator, you will live your life mastering a system that is not yours. You will execute, refine, and optimize. It'll look good on paper, but never own. You will spend your years climbing a ladder without realizing you never built the building. Power inside a system you don't own is just well rewarded servitude. Here's what happens when power doesn't transfer. We start with ourselves. Our self system failure, trapped in execution mode. You will become the strongest link in a chain that was never yours. You will master processes that only reinforce the system you were given. You will perfect efficiency, but never question who profits from it. You will control the workflow, but never dictate the outcome. Your mind will therefore be conditioned to adapt instead of create. A system that does not serve you will always use you. If you do not break the loop, you will live in one. These are serious self consequences when you stop to think about what you think about and why you think about how you think about things. Spiritual system failure. Faith with no foundation. You'll believe in power. You'll feel the power. You'll know that there's power, but you'll never claim it. You'll pray for guidance, but refuse to step into the unknown. You'll ask for direction, but still walk paths you didn't design. You'll say you trust God. Sounds cool. But hesitate when called to build instead of follow. Faith without action is just obedience. God is not a system maintainer. He is the ultimate architect. If you only reinforce what exists, you are not walking in faith. You are just surviving inside the structure given to you. Network system failure. Influence without immortality. Do you believe you can build something that lasts beyond you? You will lead, but only temporarily. Your title will be removed when the system no longer needs you. Your influence will fade when the next operator replaces you. Your name will be respected, but never embedded into the foundation of the world you lived in. True power is when what you create exists long after you are gone. If your system collapses without you, you were just an asset, not an architect. If your work does not shape the world beyond your time, you were just another operator passing through. Legacy. Where's my chat? Legacy. Are you building something bigger than you? Do you have an influence on the world around you? Are you aware and alert to the world around you? Are you aware that you still are creating, even if it is someone else's system? Those are the consequences. How do we make the leap? How do we make the leap, Jeff? From operator to architect. For self, the first thing we want to do is destroy the operator mindset. Stop measuring success by how well you function inside a structure you didn't create. Audit where your expertise is being used, but never transferred into ownership. Ask yourself this. If I could build from scratch, would I keep this system? An operator asks, how do I win? An architect asks, do I even want this game? If the answer is no, it's time to start building something else. We're talking about how to. You need to go from operator to architect. Step 2, establish creative dominion. Identify one area where you are executing but not innovating. Break the assumption that the existing system is necessary. Create a framework that does not rely on external validation to function. This is faith. Faith don't wait, doubt deletes the code. If the system you operate within can exist without you, then you are not the architect, you are the labor. If you don't move beyond best practices, you will always be a follower. Step 3. Embed your name into the foundation. Here's this powerful question that we probably dismiss. If you disappeared today, would what you built remain standing? If your influence is tied to a role, position, or title, it is temporary power. Architects design systems that do not need their constant maintenance to survive. Contrary to popular belief, delegate authority and power. If the world moves on without your contribution, then your success was borrowed, not built. Operators work inside the system. Architects create the standard. What is the standard you are creating for your life? Is it your standard? How can we challenge ourselves today? If we want to move from operator to architect, today we separate. Do this today. Identify the system you are currently optimizing but did not create. Define one way you can redesign it to work for you, not against you. And then take action. No waiting, no hesitation. And come back and contribute. Speak it and write it into existence. I build the system. Declare what you are leaving behind and what you are creating next. We're not just players. We're not just winners. We are creators. My beautiful people. Creation is the highest form of power. If you master execution but never move beyond it, you will be powerful inside a prison. If you strategize but don't take full ownership, you will build for others but never for yourself. If you create but don't embed your identity into the foundation, your impact dies when you do. Most people stop at operator. You already know. We don't. Most people chase power. We claim ownership. Most people execute inside the system. We build the system. Move beyond execution. Move beyond strategy. Move beyond temporary impact. Own the structure. Design the world. Become the architect. God did not design you to be a piece. He designed you to be the creator. You either build the system or get erased by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.